Thank you for making the second channel. It's so much easier to react to. How's it going, everybody? I'm McRed2. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be tearing apart Steven Crowder once again. I think I'm going to make a habit out of this because my last Steven Crowder video did really fucking good. A lot of haters, but you know what? Interaction's good for the algorithm, so I'll take it. Today, Steven Crowder, or I guess a couple days ago, decided to debunk every liberal myth about Thanksgiving. I'm looking at the first frame of this video. Now, I don't watch any of my videos before I react to them. I want to give you guys my organic reaction to it. I do edit a bit, take out some ums and some pauses and stuff like that. But for the most part, I try to keep it as organic as I can. But I'm looking at this. Holy shit. I knew Steven Crowder was a racist. I didn't know he was this racist. Like, I'm not gonna say this is as bad as blackface, but this is in the same vein. Holy shit. Yeah. Before we get started, feel free to drop a like if you're enjoying the video so far. I know we're only about a minute or two in, but feel free to hit the subscribe button as well. I'd love to have you on the team. But let's go ahead and let's tear into this thing.
Oh, trigger
God.
Warning. It's Thanksgiving.
Jesus Christ. So you put a trigger warning before the offensive content or the content that could negatively impact somebody. You don't use that content to deliver said trigger warning. Jesus fuck.
Giving, and you know what that means. As you try to enjoy some downtime with your family, you'll undoubtedly find yourself sitting across from a social justice warrior at your Thanksgiving table trying to force feed you white guilt. After all, it's...
There's no such thing as white guilt. I'm a leftist. I don't have white guilt. I just acknowledge my privilege and try to make the world a better place. I even try to weaponize it with this channel, but no, I don't have white guilt. I don't know anybody that has white guilt. Nobody's trying to make you feel bad for being white. They're trying to make you aware of the privilege that you have and the shitty things that our race has done in the past. But anyway.
Your ancestors who committed mass genocide against the Indians. I'm sorry, Native Americans. I'm sorry, indigenous. The ones who do the mouth thing. We'll play it safe and go with Redskins.
Holy, oh my God. So this is the problem with Steven Crowder's content. It makes my skin crawl. I have such a hard time sitting through his shit because he cannot finish a sentence. He cannot deliver a thought without trying to trigger the libs. Calling them Indians, not right. Native Americans, not right, but more socially acceptable. Indigenous, yes. Then cutting away to him dressed as an indigenous person, doing a racial stereotype. That's basically doing blackface and eating a watermelon while you're doing it to portray a caricature of black people. Not as bad, but yeah. And then he cuts back to him at his desk here and calls them redskin. Oh, I'm suffering through this for you guys. Holy shit. I cannot stand the man because he cannot complete a thought without trying to trigger people. Just say what you're gonna say. Fuck.
Only one problem. What they're trying to feed you is unadulterated, plain roaming buffalo feces.
You mean bullshit? I know you threw the buffalo thing in there to be triggering because the topic of the video is about the indigenous people, and that was a staple food for them way back in the day before we genocided them. But go on.
All right, to preface this, yes, there were some heinous crimes committed on behalf of the settlers, Europeans, that are unforgivable, and I've benefited as a result with white privilege, blah, 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 but some of the BS needs to be called out. Civilization.
Yes, you have. Congratulations. Way to be woke. I'm pretty sure that's all the wokeness we're going to get out of him.
Clash. That's happened since the beginning of time. Yes, war sucks, but it doesn't give the right to leftist teachers, social justice warriors to lie about a non-existent horseback culture, peaceful Native American who was taken out by smallpox blankets and painted with colors of the wind.
You see, oh my God, Jesus. You see, the thing is, we know that they were warring tribes and we understand that, but when in history, traditionally, when a peoples were conquered, sure, their land was taken from them, but they weren't genocided. They weren't hunted for sport, generally speaking. The Romans were very big on this. They would integrate the people that they conquered into their civilization, making them Roman citizens and giving them access to all of the benefits of the Roman Empire, as long as they served the empire and, you know, gave men for the imperial troops and things like that. But they didn't just go and hunt them for sport. We did that. We hunted them for sport. There were literally bounties for people back in the Old West to go and scalp indigenous people, bringing their scalps back for a payout. We hunted them like animals. And yeah, we did give them blankets that were riddled with smallpox in an effort to make their population sick and kill off a large portion of them and lessen their fighting force. We did do that. But nobody's under the guise or under the impression that they were just a peaceful nation, that war was somehow foreign to them. We're aware of that. They didn't genocide each other.
So before you dummies hang that dream catcher from your rear view mirror, that's another problem we'll talk about. Are you planning to fall asleep at the wheel? You're a jackass. I don't care if you do have a dream catcher in your car, you fall asleep with...
I don't know anybody that isn't indigenous that has a dream catcher in their car. My mom used to make dream catchers, which is kind of cringe looking back on it, but she's a conservative, so like she would do something like that. But like we never had one in the car, and I've never seen anybody that wasn't an indigenous person with a dream catcher. Anyway, not important.
With a wheel, throw 2 tons of steel, glass, and gasoline behind you, it's going to be a bad dream. No one wakes up from that refreshed. But it's time to put your surgical mask on like Japanese do in the face of SARS, because you're about to smell some sacred cows.
Yeah, during the SARS epidemic. I mean, Japanese culture is very good about trying to manage infectious disease. If you're sick, you wear a mask over there. That's just part of their culture, which is a big reason why they're doing so well with COVID-19, because wearing a mask it's just normal for them if there's a sickness going around, or if you are sick, to protect the people around you. They care about each other. There are problems with, you know, Japanese society. That is true, but that's not one of them. So yeah, during SARS, they wore masks. That we should be doing that now with COVID.
Being burned. Let's debunk some of the most common politically correct Thanksgiving myths. Myth: the Native Americans were a peaceful culture to whom the concept of war was foreign.
I literally just, okay. Wow. Word for word. Okay. Yeah, nobody's saying that. Nobody's under that impression. We're very aware that there were various warring nations. We just committed genocide against them.
Fact: many tribes were conquering assholes. Native Americans warred with each other since forever. Sometimes it was over hunting or farming ground, sometimes it was revenge. But the truth is, the only way settlers were able to conquer this land was with the assistance of Native Americans themselves, who wanted to settle the score with other who they viewed to be more Polish tribes than themselves.
Yeah, and then we stabbed them in the back. Genocided their people and put them on tiny reservations, and over the last 300-400 years have made those reservations smaller and smaller and smaller. I think recently, I believe it was Oklahoma, legislation was just passed to give back massive swaths of land in the state back to the indigenous people, but that's the only time that I know of in recent history, or at all really, that I'm aware of, that land has been given back to the Native Americans. It's always been taken from them, and they've been pushed into smaller and smaller reservations. The resources of American culture have been denied to them for generations.
Cortez took over stuff with 500 conquistadors? No, it was the 50,000 plus Native Americans who'd had it up to here with being enslaved, raped, brutally tortured, and forced to carry gold for the other native Aztecs. Same thing for the North. The big strategy of the Europeans wasn't to kill everybody. You give some tribes some fire, water, and boom boom sticks, let them do the dirty work.
Fire, water, and boom boom sticks. See what I'm talking about? He can't just say what he needs to say. He's got to be triggering about it. Give them alcohol and dynamite. You don't need to call it fire, water, and boom boom sticks. Jesus fuck.
Here, have fun. Some of the...
Oh, I guess boom boom sticks refers to guns. But yeah. No, we did work with Native Americans, and then stabbed them in the back. We did do that.
Indian Sorry, redskin tribes were the most brutal in existence. Some of them practiced enslavement, rape, cannibalism. They would sometimes target women and children. For example, the Comanches would butcher babies and roast people alive. And where do you think we learned the fine art of scalping?
Yes, they committed atrocities. Nobody's denying that, but they did that to their own people, and they weren't genocidal about it. We came to their land and genocided them, took it as our own, and gave them basically nothing. Yeah, we fucked them up royally and have done nothing to try and make it right. We're in a more civilized time now where we can recognize the sins of our past and take steps to make it right. We didn't even try to integrate them into our culture, into our society. There was a phrase back in the day, and it's got some racist words in it, but it was save the man, kill the Indian, I believe. Where they would basically indoctrinate them into white culture and completely erase their culture from their society entirely. And the very few that did get integrated into our culture were treated like second-class citizens because they weren't white. Whereas the example that I gave earlier, ancient Rome, it didn't matter what color your skin was. You were either a Roman citizen or a barbarian. And you could be any race and be a Roman citizen. And when your town, kingdom, province, whatever, was conquered by the Roman Empire, you were integrated into the Roman Empire, but they didn't erase your culture for it until the Christian church took over the Roman Empire, and then they started, erasing other cultures and religions. But that was right near the fall of the Roman Empire, but I digress.
Father, what's that Indian doing?
No, we mustn't say Indians, they're indigenous.
The indigenous. What's that indigenous doing?
I agree, it is rather curious.
Hey, guys. Oh, my God!
Myth! Native Americans were an advanced society. Truth! Not even close.
Nobody's saying that. They did have farming techniques and survival techniques for the region, which is where they hailed from. So they learned over time as a society how to survive in Northern and Central America. So they were more advanced than us in that aspect, but everybody knows that the Europeans had access to better technology. And the reasons for that are many and varied, and a lot of it stems from the climate and resources available in Europe when the European countries were originally forming way back in the day. That's a completely different conversation. But no, nobody believes that, nobody tries to say that the indigenous people were some advanced some technologically advanced society above the white man. They just had farming and hunting and living techniques that allowed them to survive in the climate and the geography of Northern and Central America and Southern America.
Smell that? It's your sacred cow, and it's already extra well done. Don't worry, I scalped her first and made the other cows watch. Unlike ancient Rome, Greece, China, or really any other advanced empire that existed long before we came here with the Native Americans, they didn't have any kind of advanced plumbing, transportation, mathematics, or really anything that's led to you watching this right now on your iPhone.
Because they didn't need that. They were able to survive just fine. They didn't need to pipe water in from elsewhere like Rome did with their aqueducts. They didn't have massive sprawling cities because a lot of the time they were more nomadic people. They followed food. That's just how their society functioned. Nobody tries to say that they were technologically advanced, but they were able to survive just fine in the Americas, and we weren't. So we exploited them for their knowledge and resources, exploited them for their manpower in conquering other Native American tribes, and then stabbed them in the back.
Oh, you're just being ethnocentric.
Yes. That whole beautiful horse...
See, right there, I told you. I have said before, and I'll say it again. Steven Crowder is a white nationalist. He's a white supremacist, and he's becoming more and more open about it. It's kind of weird. Usually these people are massive fucking cowards and dance around the topic all they can. But Steven Crowder just, fucking went mask off right there. Okay. Props, I guess, for not being a fucking pussy like the rest of them.
Horseback Indian culture you read about, it's a lie. They hadn't even domesticated horses. Not only that, they didn't use the wheel. No, really. 1400 AD, no wheel.
I say, good man, why don't you just roll it? Roll it. Roll.
I I know this one's not a moral argument. The point is, when you're that far behind, the clash of civilizations is that much worse when the wheel-using New World catches up to you. Myth. The settlers deliberately infected Native Americans with smallpox blankets to wipe...
They did, sometimes. But the vast majority of the people that were killed by disease from Europeans was just coming in contact with diseases that their immune systems were in no way equipped to handle because they weren't exposed to those diseases. But there were specific instances where blankets that were deliberately infected with smallpox were given to indigenous tribes. That did happen. It's just not the only way we killed them with disease. A lot of it was inadvertent, I'll admit. Yeah, it was inadvertent, but it still happened. But there definitely were specific instances where this took place.
Wipe them out. Truth. Only idiots could believe this. Think about this for a second.
No.
You believe that Europeans waged microbial biological warfare years before discovery, mass acceptance, or even acknowledgement of advanced germ theory.
Yes, the Romans and medieval Europeans used to catapult dead bodies over the walls of cities that they were sieging to infect the population. They didn't know about germs, but they knew that uncleanliness and dead bodies bred disease. And they also knew that if you had a disease, like during the plague, if you took a plague-infected person and sent them into an uninfected area, the plague would spread there. They knew about sickness. They didn't know about germs. They didn't know the names of the diseases and how the little microbes were. They didn't know that, but they knew what disease was. They knew what it meant to get sick, and they knew how to spread it. Yeah, they used biological warfare thousands of years ago up to the modern day.
Here, Father, give them these. They're riddles.
So literally your argument is they were too dumb to know that because they didn't know about germs. Because they hadn't developed the germ theory of disease yet and didn't have microscopes. They couldn't have done it. All right. You're just fucking stupid then. All right. I mean, I knew that, but still.
With germs. What do you mean? What's a germ? Well, they're like microscopic organisms, but you can't see them.
You can't see it. Is it magic?
Not quite like magic, but he's a witch, Ben. He's a witch. I'm not a witch. Oh my God!
You can search high and low for legitimate historical accounts of smallpox blankets being mass pajamagrams to peaceful Native Americans, but you won't find it. However, there is some truth to the myth, which brings me to my next point. Myth. Europeans deliberately committed mass genocide, wiping out every last native for sport.
Yes, they did. Let's see how he tries to debunk it. He didn't really debunk the last one. He just said they were too dumb for it when it did happen. But let's see how he debunks it.
Truth. Nope. This brings back in our last point. It is estimated that as high as 95% of Native Americans were actually taken out by diseases. Why? Because Europeans brought with them new diseases to which the natives weren't immune, not only themselves, but with animals with which the Native Americans had no contact with, because again, they hadn't yet domesticated horses. Again, not judging just because of the lack of advancement as a society. No horses or wheel. No wheel. Sure, there were plenty of bloody...
No, you are judging. I can tell by the look on your face. But yeah, a lot of the Native Americans did die from disease, but we still hunted them for sport. Just because a lot of them died inadvertently didn't mean we didn't also commit genocide on the ones that survived. That still happened.
Horrendous, unimaginable conflicts that did occur. And when dealing with a more barbaric society and new settlers, generally speaking in warfare, the guys with the boom boom sticks win. This isn't exclusive to America, and it's not all uncommon. But Europeans weren't hell-bent on destroying every single last indigenous person. As a matter of fact, they were encouraged to reach out to them and try and bring them into the culture and convert them to Christianity. Plus, intermarrying was
yeah, bring them into the culture and destroy theirs. Like I said earlier, and again, racist language, but save the man, kill the Indian is what they used to say. That's the verbiage they used to use. They wanted to just eradicate indigenous people and culture. And if the people wanted to join white society and adopt their culture, their language, their religion, and completely forsake the rest of it, they were allowed to stay. But we did genocide those that said no.
Incredibly common. How else do you explain Angelina Jolie, Johnny Depp, Kid Cudi, and even imaginary Elizabeth Warren claiming to be 1/16th Cherokee?
She's quite pretty, Father.
Yes, she is.
Totally, how?
She makes me feel warm in my wobbly bits.
My bits, too.
In summation, killing is bad, but so is milking, misleading, and guilting future generations for crimes they never committed. Yes.
So is lying about those crimes to try and make yourself feel better about being a hateful, white supremacist sack of shit. That's bad, too. But a few of the things that you said are just fucking true. And a few of the things that you said, nobody actually fucking believes. So yeah, you're fucking stupid and you're a racist. Congratulations, you're both.
Europeans conquered the Native Americans, instituted a constitutional republic, and advanced in a mere couple centuries what Native Americans weren't able to do for thousands of years before.
It wasn't that they weren't able to, they had no reason to. Their society functioned completely differently from the European culture. They had a different environment, they had a different landscape, they had a different way of life. They didn't need advanced technology because, by and large, they were a largely nomadic tribal culture. They just followed the food in many instances. Sure, there were some that did settle down in specific areas, and that's how they developed their farming techniques, but they didn't have the need for technology the way people in Europe did. America, like the United States of America, geographically, is fucking huge. If your food source is moving thousands of miles every year, you need to be able to follow it. Whereas in Europe, it is very tiny, especially in the individual nation states that existed at the time. So they needed to domesticate animals for food. They needed to farm, and they learned how to do so in their particular regions. And in some areas, they needed to bring fresh water in from other sources because it was not available in the immediate area, and they just didn't have the space for it. Or the area that they settled didn't have access to it, and they didn't have a way of expanding their territory to encompass a fresh water source. But that's why European nations were more technologically advanced. There was a need for it. Native Americans just didn't need it. So they didn't develop it. That's why, 300 years ago, they weren't developing technology for space travel because they didn't need it. Nowadays, we kind of do. If we don't do anything to fix the Earth, we're going to need to find a new home, so there is a necessity for it. Hence, Amazon, Jeff Bezos' company, and Elon Musk's SpaceX, and NASA's also getting on. Like, there's a need for it. The Native Americans just didn't have a need to be technologically advanced. It doesn't make them less than. It doesn't make them a weaker people. It doesn't make them inferior to the white man. They were just different.
Beforehand. Yes, it was violent, but once contact has been made, you can't go back. If today we never came here, they saw a plane, guess what? It's gonna start some So turn off this smartphone, go enjoy some turkey with your family, and be sure to tell your social justice warrior cousin at the table to shut his mustache, single origin coffee drinking hole. If that doesn't work, just hand him a smallpox napkin.
Or maybe listen to what he has to say, because he's actually right and more educated than you are. But yeah, that was Steven Crowder lying about myths surrounding Thanksgiving, spouting off things that nobody believes, or lying about things that actually did happen to make himself feel better about being a white supremacist. And also him just being fucking stupid. But, I mean, could you expect any more from Steven Crowder? It's Steven Crowder, come on. But anyway, that's going to be it for me today. Thanks for tuning in. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Feel free to follow me at my socials right here. You can follow me on Twitter. You can join the Discord if you have any questions or you want to join the conversation, or you can follow me on Twitch. I stream Saturday nights and Sunday nights starting at around 9 o'clock. It depends on how bedtime goes, because I do have an 18-month-old and bedtime doesn't always go well. Yeah, follow me on Twitch if you want to come and ask me questions, or if you just want to chill and hang out. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Until the next one. Peace.